Some viewers may find this content disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Who dares awaken me from my slumber? JJ Messenger. It is always great to see you venture into the Fox Den for another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on StarFox Radio. Yet I have been sleeping for so long and need to attend to something. Much better. And thank you, JJ, for releasing my shackles and helping me regain my power source. Yes, it is time for the Midnight Society once again to try to figure out what is occurring with the Dogman. And remember, massacres make the dream work or something like that. My creatures of the night, yes, welcome back to another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on StarFox Radio. We, again, have JJ Messenger, another member of the Midnight Society, stopping into the Fox Den and is getting ready for this episode of Midnight Lycanthropy with us. How you doing tonight, my friend?
Hey, Ken, I'm doing well. How are you?
This is good. I'm pretty busy like you, but I'm doing good myself. Just plugging away, editing, and a whole bunch more of editing. What have you been up to?
Oh, I've been doing this, what I call the Sasquatch outreach, where I'm trying to communicate with them. And they seem to respond to native music, and I've been getting a lot of noises, branch activity, and thrown acorns coming my way.
Wow, that's cool, but also a little terrifying for sure.
I think there's a trust factor. I've been associating with these unknowns, I call them. I've been associating with them for 4 years now.
No, there's definitely, like you said, a trust value. On a really cool note, there's actually a raven that's been coming around that likes to eat some of the peanuts that I give to the other neighborhood squirrels too. And the raven has actually come and will eat the peanuts out of my hand, which is pretty cool.
There you go. It's the same principle.
Exactly. And ravens are super smart. I mean, I'm not sure if it's a male or a female, but they've been hanging around for a bit, but they usually would keep a distance. I would just chuck a peanut to, say, one of the other squirrels. The same thing wouldn't come up too close. It would like fly over and grab it. But then the other day, I opened the door and I didn't realize that the raven was literally like right above me, looking down for me to open the door. So I had the peanut in my hand, leaning down to go give it to one of my squirrels. And literally the raven just kind of came down still like flooping and just like took the peanut out of my hand. I was like, "Oh, you scared the crap out of me, dude. Like I did not know you were right above me, but that's super cool."
Oh, that is funny.
Yeah. I was like, "Whoa." But yeah, it's like you said, it's just like a whole big trust factor. But tonight you had some pretty interesting stuff that you potentially wanted to dive into. So I would like to toss you the mic here. And if you would like to just update the audience as to anything in general cryptid based you've been up to. And then if you'd like to dive into some of the topics you had brought up, let's do this, my friend.
Oh, awesome. Well, my group, the Winston Wildman Research Organization, we've been operating near Winston, Connecticut, where in 1895 there were wildman sightings. It was huge. It was a huge story. It was in the Boston Globe. It was in the New York Times. It was in Philadelphia newspapers. This was big. They had posses of hundreds of men searching for this wild man that was seen by stagecoaches and town politicians in the woods and berry patches all around the counties surrounding Winston, which I happen to live right next to Winston right now these days. Uh, so I started the Winston Wildman Research Organization on the wild premise that there may still be, on the wild premise that there may be a cryptid community still functioning near this town. And we've had some activity. We've had a lot of vocals. Winston Wildman, look it up on YouTube. And it started me thinking also about how intelligent they seem to be, especially with the vocals, with apparent language. Some of the language I don't recognize, and some of it has apparent English involved. So, if these are Sasquatch, which I cannot guarantee, but they are Sasquatch, they are extremely intelligent. And I was wondering how that translates across the entire cryptid spectrum from Sasquatch to Dogman or what have you. How intelligent would the Dogmen be? Are they like of the same variety of Sasquatch? Are they perhaps from a different dimensional reality, or are they misinterpreted Earth animals? It's something to explore.
Great stuff right there, my friend. Definitely seems like you're staying pretty busy and getting out there. And geez, that's a tough question to fully give a answer to. But if I had to present an answer, I mean, they're smart. Like, and we have a ton of cases of dogmen supposedly setting traps, and putting carcasses in the middle of the road, forcing somebody to stop. But I do think that the Sasquatch have a little bit more of a human type aspect to their intelligence over a dogman, meaning I think it would be harder to catch a Sasquatch, whereas a dogman, like I said, smart. But if you put out meat or set up something that looks like it's an easy target, I feel like sooner than later you're probably going to be able to potentially catch one. And I still think animals are super smart. I'm a huge advocate for animal intelligence. Okay. If something is super hungry, right? Say if you took a hungry person or a hungry bear, yeah, bears are smart too, but I think that the hungry person is still going to be a little bit more tactful in how they are going to maybe run down how they can get a food source, whereas I think the bear is just going to get to a point where it's just literally going to charge somebody's house and try to take your dog or something.
Yeah, that's a good point. Where I live, we have a huge influx of black bears. And I know the Smithsonian Institute, they like to theorize that all Sasquatch sightings are in fact black bear because of the correlation between black bear population and Bigfoot sightings. Uh, my argument for that would be is that the habitat that supports black bears is a prime habitat that supports any other cryptid. Not that a black bear is a cryptid, but you know what I'm saying. And the black bears in our area, oh my God, they're so smart. There's one in particular that opens my car door. He opens my car door. I usually have like a half full chip bag or something on the car seat. He'll drag it out and he'll chow down. And he'll leave a big bear footprint on my driver's side on my car seat. So I've had to start locking my. I live out in the wild in the country. I had to start locking my car because of the black bears.
That's just what I'm saying right there. That's a prime great example of just intelligence, and I think it's a only a human thing to think that we're more intelligent and that animals are smart. I mean, just because we can click on a cell phone, whoop-de-doo. I've made this reference numerous times. Let's take all these people that can click on their cell phones, put us outside throughout a whole entire winter, and let's see how many of us just survive on our own. But I mean, every outdoor animal has to do that. So,
Yeah, yeah, and to think a black bear knows if I take my claw and pull down on this metal lever, this door will open. That's deductive reasoning right there. I mean,
well, I don't know too if you've been informed that raccoons actually know how to open doors and things and can be taught that. They have basically like a little reset button, which is so funny in their brain that after I can't fully remember, it's like either 3 or 4 months they just forget. So you have to teach them again. But they are able to, yeah, open doors and do all kinds of really interesting things. And raccoons, again, are super smart.
yeah, that's something I learned when the honey jars that I was leaving out at a gifting log for the forest unknowns are being unscrewed. And people would suggest to me, well, perhaps raccoons are doing it
Hmm.
because they're extremely ambidextrous. They have very good gripping power, whereupon any other animal that came across the jar would just tear into it with their teeth, you know.
Exactly,
So,
rip it apart. It's funny you
yep.
said that too about the ambidextrous aspects about with the strength because I was making that reference with Barb earlier when I was talking to her, like my squirrel, when I'm either I don't know, giving her something and she wants more of it, or I might be taking something away from her that she doesn't need. She'll grab onto me with her paws, man. And she doesn't even weigh that much, but you can feel the force, the grip force of when she's pulling my, like, say, hand or my finger back towards her. And you'd be surprised, like I said, about the actual force that can be generated. I mean, it's enough where she's like, "Hey, give this back to me." So I could, yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, enough force has to be generated for a raccoon to be able to open the door because I mean we have a side screen door that's like a it's a latch door and there's a button that you push, but it never really latches that well unless you like slam it shut. So she can get out of that pretty easy because she just jumps up and hits the button. But then to come back in though, you have to like hit the button and pull it open. She can't do that though. You see what I'm saying? But the raccoon can do something like that, which is super interesting.
Oh, yeah. I used to have an eccentric neighbor when I was a kid, like an old cat lady sort of woman, and she would feed the raccoons, right? She'd throw out like a loaf of bread every night for the raccoons. And in they would come on her porch. They were like 10, 15 raccoons, fat as you can imagine. And I remember watching them and studying them and seeing how intelligent they were with how they ate, and they dipped their bread in the water bowl, like it was some kind of a bar mitzvah or something. It was really interesting. It really was.
That's what I'm saying, and a lot of people don't know as well. Raccoons are infamous for drowning hunting dogs and also other animals that they would like to prey on. But also, what's super intriguing is for how smart they are. Like our spelunker Meg Koo was saying, they're like dirtbags though, because she's been in the cave before where there you could see the raccoon tracks and all this, but they just literally urinate and poop all over their like chilling area, which is so gross because like I said, my squirrel, man, I have a little setup for her underneath her cage. It's like a little cat box thing, but squirrels hang off of their nest to poop and pee. And same thing, she pushes all her nuts out on the floor. She doesn't want that in there. And same thing with like the little chipmunk that lives out back. I built him a little house. Man, his little area is super like clean too. But then you have these raccoons that are smart, which we all just spoke about, but they're literally just like crapping all over the place as to like where they're living. It's like, yo, how smart are you?
No, that's not. Yeah, the animals are intelligent in different ways. And I think raccoons' intelligence is associated with those incredible paws that they have.
Hmm.
They're like little human hands, basically. When it comes to sanitation, they're obviously not that bright.
Well, that's what I was saying. Because then you have other animals that I don't know. My squirrel and the other squirrels are like cleaning themselves, like cleaning their tail and such. You know what I mean? So you're like, oh, what the heck? But it is the hands that make the big difference, is because, there's very few animal species that have hands, which makes a big difference. And that kind of, ties in with the whole Dogman thing, with the aspect of them with the whole hands and the different orientations of what they could be doing or why they're trying to open doors and such. But again, I think it's a whole aspect of just kind of messing with people, because a Dogman should be able to just rip a door off. I watched a pretty, wasn't huge, but a decent sized grizzly bear in Yellowstone just kind of sit down and put its paws on the top of this door and just rip it off because it was ticked off that they stopped feeding it, which they shouldn't have in the first place. But yeah, so I mean, obviously a grizzly bear is weighing more than a Dogman, but that's what's kind of always made me wonder about that is, are they just like kind of trolling with you, because it seems like they should be able to have very easy access to getting inside of some place, or is there some reason why they can't come in?
Yes, yes. That's I did hear one horror story, that people have evil Sasquatch or Bigfoot stories, as well as the not so evil, the good ones. I did hear one story, and this man was like practically in tears through his whole interview. And he was saying how they were unable to pursue him once he got inside his cabin. Apparently, were threatening him through mind speak, were pursuing him. But once they got to his cabin, that there was this, like the European vampire lore, that there's this boundary and they're not allowed to cross it. Or the ancient demonology teachings about allowing a demon into your domain, your home, or your life. You know, there's certain boundaries that
So
apparently are set.
bizarre.
Yeah, yeah,
Something that would be of such a menace or power source, whether it's the black-eyed children, vampires, whatever, the fact that they need to be invited in is almost humorous, I guess, because you should just be able to do whatever it is you'd like to do at any point in time. Like, where is this whole, I don't know, it's interesting to think where some of those things like come from, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
yeah.
It
People
just,
people think it's all mythological, but there's common threads, and the common threads go culture to culture. Some cultures separated by oceans. You know, it's like when you see all these common threads with mythology and legend, you're thinking, okay, there's a basis under there.
yeah, like where did it all come from? No, like you said, it's definitely completely interesting for sure. And but back to more or less, I guess to give you a full answer is I do think that they are smart, but I just think Sasquatch have a little bit more of the human type aspect in it, whereas I think the Dogman still has that animal instinct. But again, I mean, humans think we're so smart, but how many times do predators get us? So I mean, how smart was that person?
Right, right. Yeah, I would agree with that. When I started my Sasquatch research 4 years ago, I was totally mainstream Gigantopithecus smart ape, right? And I actually had the idea that I could put out like a giant rotting ham in the forest and put camera traps around it, and that will do the trick. You know, basically thinking they're just dumb animals who want to chow down. You know, uh, whether it was salmon or bacon or any kind of meat lure. Soon I was discovering all my cleverly hid camera traps were being taken off trees. I was hiding one underground, actually. It had a battery power source, and I buried it underground. It was peeking up, and they dug up the whole thing and disconnected it.
Yeah, sign of intelligence right there for sure. And like I said, I mean, if the dogmen are setting traps and leaving carcasses in the middle of the road and such, I mean, I do believe there is definitely 100% in intellect there for sure. I guess it's just all based off of more or less, I mean, how someone wants to grade intelligence. I mean, it's no different than what people with the book smarts and then people that are considered street smart. I don't know. So, with an animal, I mean, they are going to survive, but obviously, they're smart enough to know when to take people and like when not to, yet they don't really seem to care about showing themselves, where it seems like Sasquatch tends to definitely try to hide itself more, whereas Dogmen seem to pretty much just give the person the middle finger and like lick
That,
their window, like tap it, like, rip their rabbits apart outside and pretty much just troll them.
oh yeah. Yeah, that's what I say about the black bear. See, the black bear, especially where I live, that when you encounter them in the woods, they're not hiding from you. The black bear have an attitude like, okay, we're the bears, move out of our way. You
Hmm.
know, they'll come huffing and puffing in your direction. And it's like, okay, you gotta move out of their way.
Yeah.
You know, it's like Sasquatch is extremely elusive and covert, and you'll hear like wood knocks and for the life, for your life and for your sanity, and you can't even see them. You can't see them no matter how hard you try. Some people think they can cloak. I haven't seen evidence of that, but oh, it's just crazy. They're ninjas, literal ninjas.
And I mean, again, that just falls into when you said the term ninja. I mean, those were human beings, but how many times did they go into areas completely undetectable and cause absolute chaos?
Yeah,
So, I
that was the
mean,
science for them. They learned it.
exactly, 100% right there. And it just all really boils down to, like I said, the meaning of, well, how are we going to potentially, look at the aspect of intellect? I mean, they seem to be, as I stated, quite intellectual. I mean, here's an example. Wolves, definitely smart, and they have no problem clashing with grizzly bears in Yellowstone National Park. I've watched them steal food from a grizzly bear before, and
Mm,
also in this case, yeah, this mother with her cubs was feeding, and this cub was feeding as well. And this pack of wolves didn't even try to steal the carcass, didn't even do anything. They literally just came and laid right down and looked pretty much at the mother and her cub, and they were like, "Don't worry, we're gonna get you." And the mother obviously ran off with her cub. And then the next day, when this person that filmed was, filming and saw the mother bear, she didn't have the cub. So obviously the wolves got it.
wow. Yeah, strength in numbers, right?
Hmm. So they knew they weren't going to mess with her. Like they said, they were just going to lay right there, and we're going to get your kid. Don't worry about it. We got all day and night.
Man. Yeah, no matter how strong and powerful you are, if you're overwhelmed by numbers, not much you can do about it.
No, and like you said, bears are lazy, so bears are going to get tired. Wolves are literally meant to chase and just keep running.
That sort of makes me think about what a dog man would be like with its mentality. Relentless, perhaps, pack hunter.
Both, I would say. It really all depends. I mean, if you have something that's more of like a glass canyon, like a mountain lion or something, then they're not as relentless, meaning that if they fail of their initial surprise attack, they usually tend to, regroup and go off. But then you have others that like wolverines and Komodo dragons and hyenas that are just, yeah, straight up relentless, man. Wolves, they just will pursue until they're successful, and all those are actually have really high success rates when it comes to hunting. Whereas something that is like a large cat that isn't as persistent doesn't have the highest success ratio, more or less, and they also need to preserve a lot of energy. Like a tiger, people don't realize is only active around 3 or 4 hours a day. The rest of the day they're relaxing. So again, that big cat has energy to attack, but it's solitary, so it needs to keep that energy. Whereas the pack, like I said, can just keep chasing you, but a tiger can't, isn't built to keep chasing you like that.
That's interesting. It makes me think of pet dogs and pet cats and their differences.
Hmm.
And a pet dog will treat you as a member of his pack,
Hmm.
right? And hopefully you're the alpha, not the dog. but uh,
Yes.
but the cat, cats are fiercely independent, right? And they do their own thing. And if you try to command a cat, it's like, yeah, yeah, tell me another one.
Yes, exactly. And people used to try to, say that dogs are smarter than cats. They're both smart in their own different ways. Like you just said, I mean, it really all depends. Like a dog is based to have, canines like pack oriented, whereas, felines are more solitary. Like you said, the cat comes and says hello when he or she wants to. It's human, not
Yeah, yeah.
not the other
If
way
they want,
around.
if they want affection, they come to you, but you don't come to him.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas the dog, like you said, usually like it's right there as soon as you open the door. So actually, like when I go over and let my friend's dog out after, like the cat, he'll come say, "What's up?" But as soon as I open the door, she'll come barreling down the dog.
Right. And dogs are highly predictable compared to cats.
Yes, exactly. Which is again why most canines are pack oriented, and even domesticated dogs work together better in packs. Yet solitary hunters have to be a little bit better. But again, I do believe dogmen are pack oriented as well, and because I have cases of them being seen with packs of wolves and coyotes, meaning it would be an easy way for them to get around discreetly, but also to have extra backup to, get and pursue food. And just recently, they found a bunch of juvenile male and female T Rexes all together, which has changed their whole entire view of T Rex now because they used to think it was solitary, but it actually is a pack oriented hunter. So think not only do you have to get away from one of these, now you have to get away from 10 of
Oh, wow. A pack of T-Rex. Unbelievable.
them.
I had to redo those Jurassic Park movies and make it more of a pack of T-Rexes.
Right? It's just that's what I'm saying. So I mean, people always thought, solitaire, but even with great white sharks, again, they have recently documented that they actually sometimes will hunt together as well to use each other as tactics and then feed off the same carcass. So it is interesting. There are, fully based solo hunters, and then there's hunters that are pack oriented, and then there's others that are just going to take advantage of the situation. Meaning, I watched a coyote the other day try to take on a baby black bear by itself, but the black bear caught the coyote off guard by getting to high ground because that's where the coyote was heading, and the coyote just took off afterwards. But if the coyote is in the pack, and then they're going to just sit there and, same thing, chase down something, or they're just going to wait for scraps, being like opportunistic.
Right, right. Yeah, that's all incredible. It's well, Ernie Davio, his encounter with the Sasquatch was with a group that were hunting deer. And many people have hypothesized that, as with early human ancestors, with the woolly mammoths or what have you, we would go out as a group and coordinate a hunt.
Makes sense. I mean, I don't know the most about Sasquatch, but whether it's a hominoid, whether it's Gigantopithecus, whether it's something else, sure, we'll tie it all into one right here. Of course, I mean, apes hunt in packs, humans hunt in packs. I mean, really doesn't seem that far fetched. And let's be real. What are your odds of a better life and also success ratio, being a solo hunter or being pack oriented? Would you rather have a pack of 160 hyenas with you when you go take on something, or would you rather be a leopard by yourself?
Yeah, that's a very good point. It's strength in numbers right there. Yep.
Yeah, because the leopard's cool, but like you said, it has no backup, and the hyena has backup. And I'll give you an example real quick before we let you get back to what you need to do as well. I watched a leopard again. Guess it's more of a glass cannon, but it tried to take on this baboon, got up in the tree, grabbed the baboon, baboon fell, leopard fell, then the leopard let go of it, and then all these other baboons come in with sticks and rocks and start pelting this thing. I mean, it didn't look like it was enough to be terminal, but it was. The leopard ended up passing away from that, okay? And then I watched a male lion grab a hold of, I don't know if it was a female or a male hyena right by the neck. He's just holding on to it. trying to suffocate it, whatever. All these other hyenas come in. Lion lets go. That hyena loops back around. And they all just start beating the crap out of that lion now.
Wow. Incredible. That's just amazing right there.
And again, it just kind of shows you just the difference in predators because hyenas are immune to anthrax, to rabies, and also they're the only known animals to survive wounds that would be detrimental to any other animal. They've documented hyenas coming back from wounds that should have unalived them, like intestines hanging out, all kinds of crazy stuff, and they come back to life from it still.
Wow. That's like sci-fi.
Yeah, I encourage anyone to check it out. They are pretty almost immortal. I mean, they're not immortal. They can be taken down, but they are a very hardy animal. And it just goes to show you just the different levels. I mean, same thing with a grizzly bear. Grizzly bears are pretty much solo hunters, and they're living 25 to 35 years in the wild by themselves. That's a pretty hardy animal. But then you have something, I love foxes, but the average red fox lives 3 to 4 years in the wild. That's so crazy, man. I mean, it yeah, it just shows you that obviously you have different type of animals that are built for different things. Even the average wolf doesn't live that long in the wild, man.
Mm. Short lifespan for canines, but the pack is the entity that has to live on.
Yes, which is what helps them. I mean, kind of, do get a longer life expectancy because if you're a solo hunter, you're screwed. But then you have things like orcas that have been known to be up to like a 90 years old. I mean, obviously the ocean's different, but same thing with deep blue, that great white shark. They believe she's like super old. And I mean, they recently found a crocodile that was like 130 plus or something ridiculous like that. And yeah, it's super interesting. But again, that just shows you as well that, I mean, crocodiles are usually solitary. So, I mean, that thing's making it 130 years by itself.
Wow. Of course, the more apex you are with your abilities, the longer the likelihood that you're going to live on.
Yes,
Um,
which is what makes orcas so dominant, man, because they're pack oriented, extremely intelligent, and they are insane by themselves, and now you have a pack of them or whatever they call a pod.
yeah, yeah, that's the key right there. I was thinking in terms of Sasquatch or even possibly Dogmen. I don't think they go to war with each other, unlike our species.
I mean, it wouldn't really make sense, to be honest with you, because for the most part, you have, I don't know, confrontations that do occur, sometimes between predators, but usually predators try to avoid other confrontations with predators. It just isn't worth the outcome from it because, I mean, if you have 8 or 9 coyotes trying to go up against a cougar, well, there's a good chance some of those coyotes are either going to get unalived or mortally wounded, but there's also a high probability that that mountain lion is going to get mortally wounded too. So what's really the point of all that?
Right. I would imagine that most of the conflicts of any species, cryptid or non-cryptid, may be mating, males competing.
Yeah, or just like a have to do or kind of, I can't even think of the word because YouTube doesn't like it. But yeah, an example is black bears and grizzly bears. I mean, recently they had never really seen this, but a black bear took on a grizzly bear in Yellowstone to get some food. I mean, same thing. It's not something that's probably normal, but again, it just kind of shows you that it all really depends on the situation, but also if it was more normal, we would have it more documented. So obviously they're going to try to avoid each other at all costs. I mean, it's no different than, I'm sure it's happened, but I don't know how many times I've seen a tiger shark or a great white shark attack each other. I'm sure it's happened. I don't know. It doesn't really seem like predators try to go out of their way to confront other predators.
There's this survival instinct that is ingrained in all species, and that can even become a larger picture of like a common sense survival instinct, like let's avoid unnecessary conflict. You know,
Exactly. Yes. I mean, it just makes more sense to survive that way. I mean, it's no different than, again, like a special unit ops or something that has to go in and is doing a certain mission, and they know what it is or where they need to go, but then they see another group of insurgents or something. I mean, they're not going to go out of their way to get in a conflict with those extra insurgents. So it's literally no different with the same philosophy of in the wilderness, whereas, yeah, that target for the animal isn't someone to be rescued, it's something they're trying to feed on. But again, if they see a group of large wolves or something, then the bear, isn't really going to necessarily put itself in that situation purposely.
And that could be one thing that's protecting us vulnerable little creatures in our clothing, in our cars. Uh, it's protecting us from the big baddies who could basically use our arms as toothpicks,
Yeah.
because they know that if they come after us, more will follow. They know that it could create a problem, an issue.
Oh, true, my friend. And well, thanks again for popping in tonight. It's always great to sit down and pick your mind and hear what you have to say. And I appreciate it. And it's always good to sit down with members of the Midnight Society. So, again, thanks for your time, man.
Oh, thank you, Ken.
Thank you for everyone who once again stopped by tonight for this episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on Star Fox Radio. If you do enjoy my content, please like, subscribe, and share it. Feed the algorithm. And watch out, there's more than I that goes bump in the night.